Hi, this is Jerome Pepin. Welcome to the Amy Work Order Customer Documents video, where we discuss how to generate estimates, quotes, and invoices. You see how to easily apply discounts and adjustments and log receipt of payment. And finally, you view the history of customer documents for a given work order. When were quotes generated and emailed? When did invoices go out? And for what amount and to whom? And when did we get paid? Okay, let's get started. Okay, we're starting with one of our regular customers, Mr. Anderson, and this is a job that we know we'll be doing, so we have it in a work order mode. Here you can see that we have the consumable shop fee already set up. We have a single squawk set up for this job and one part that we'll be adding. And in the remove log, we list the TDR 950 that's being pulled from the aircraft. So we haven't actually begun work on this job. It's just stubbed out, ready to get started. So let's jump into customer documents and see how we can use the Amy system to generate a quote for our customer. When you're starting off with a new document, you begin in the Worksheet Builder. The Worksheet Builder provides you with choices. So in this case, we're working on quotes and estimates. The choice of cost basis, it's actually not a choice because quotes and estimates are always based on squawk estimates. But we do have a document type choice. Is this quote or estimate? Are we presenting it to our customer as a quote where it's legally binding? Or are we presenting it to our customer as an estimate? It's a rough approximation. We have the choice of taxes that will or will not be applied. Most of us in the aircraft repair industry are not subject to taxes, so for purposes of this video we won't use taxes. And the FAR choice, enable overrides, is an advanced feature, and I'll actually be covering that in a subsequent video. So we've chosen to create a quote, which is in theory a legally binding document. So let's take a look at the worksheet and see what that looks like. The worksheet is broken up into sections: labor, parts, services, shop consumable fees, adjustments, and taxes. Each line item within a section corresponds to a line item in the work order itself. So in this particular case, we have the labor for squawk number 1. And because this is a quote, which is always based on estimates, the hours are the estimated hours for this squawk. Now, this is where the fun begins. If we click on the line item, we can go into that labor line item and make adjustments. So, while we have an estimate of 12 hours for this particular squawk, we might want to quote our customer 13 hours or 10 hours or leave it at 12, but instead apply a discount or even change our hourly rate. So the customer documents are super flexible, so you're going to see more examples of where we can get in and modify the values for purposes of sending out a quote to our customer. So we've applied a discount to our labor. Let's go in and apply a discount to this Stratus ESG. And again, for purposes of the quote, I can go in and make all kinds of changes to this part line item. I can change my sell price, I can apply a discount, I can even fiddle with the quantity. In this case, we'll apply a discount of a fixed amount versus a percentage amount in the last case. Now I'm going to show you how to apply an adjustment for a fixed amount, and in this particular case we're going to put in a $200 trade-in credit on the TDR 950. And the final thing we're going to do is add a percentage adjustment, and this will be a percentage of 3.5% to account for a credit card transaction fees. So again, the trade-in credit and the transaction fees are just examples of adjustments that can be applied to quotes, and you'll see how they cascade into work orders in just a moment. I believe the worksheet's complete now. We can take a quick scan of it, take a look at our quote that's generated, and email it out, and I'll just email it to myself. We have an opportunity to put in our message to Mr. Anderson, And we can also attach files. In this case, perhaps we're attaching a product data sheet on the ESG. So the quote's been sent out, the customer signed off on it, and I just attached the signed off quote to this. Yeah, I'm getting ready to do it now. So I'm attaching the signed off quote that we got back from the customer, and I can attach it into the work order, so we have a permanent record of that. I need to generate an invoice because we're going to charge a down payment on the equipment. So I'm going to create an invoice right now. When we take payments, payments are applied against invoices. We don't apply payments against quotes or estimates. We apply them against invoices, and we do have the notion of pro forma invoices. So let's use the Worksheet Builder to generate our invoice. This invoice is based on estimates. We haven't actually performed any work yet, so we have no actuals. We did apply a number of adjustments to our quote, and this is our opportunity to tell the system whether or not they are to be cascaded into the invoice. And in this case, we've chosen to do that. And once again, we can review the worksheet for the invoice, make sure we're happy with the contents, we're happy with how the numbers are shaping up, and go ahead and create our pro forma invoice, and we'll send it on out to the customer to let them know we'll be charging their credit card. And let's go ahead and once again send that email. And I'm sending all these emails because I want you to see what the history on all these transactions will look like, and we'll see that in a couple of seconds. So now we're going to go ahead and receive the payment on the invoice, and we'll receive a payment of $2,000, and that's a deposit on the equipment. So let's get that sent, let's get that applied to the invoice, and now we're going to start the job and complete the work necessary for the first squawk, which is the removal and installation of the new avionics. We're picking up part from inventory, we've just applied our labor, and I want to take you over to the invoice report so you can see what it looks like from outside of the work order. Our invoice report shows that there's a little bit more due, so let's hop back over to the work order and let's send out our final invoice to the customer. And I'm going to stop for a second and go over what we're seeing right here. So we use the concept of pro forma invoices or preliminary invoices. And during the course of the work order, you could issue, many pro forma invoices. They can change as you discover new things about the job or as payments come in or whatever. And we use an invoice as a document that's, quote, issued. And our concept is that an invoice generally takes place at the end of the job when the job is finished. Now, with that said, we do have the notion of versions. So you could have final version of an invoice number 1 and final version number 2 if there are problems or you discover things late in the game. So there's quite a bit of flexibility built into how the system works, but I just did want to cover that notion of pro forma invoices versus invoices. So we're sending out the final invoice, and we'll record the final payment, and that will wrap up the job. So this was kind of a long video. We went through the customer documents and the ability to make all different kinds of modifications to pricing and quantities and so on. We looked at discounting. We looked at adjustments that happen kind of below the job. So that would be like trade-in credits and credit card fees and things like that. And in the next video, we're going to talk about ways that you can do very free-form quoting and free-form invoicing without being encumbered by a work order at all. So we'll take a look at that. That's an advanced topic, and we'll take a look at that in a subsequent video.